Hi, everybody. What are you doing?
I was just trying to get the perspective right, because if I'm trying to get our heads the same size. That could be really small, it could be really big, and that's only a matter of inches.
Is it that important that our heads are the same size? Our heads aren't the same size.
It's all about symmetry. I like symmetry in my visuals.
What about reality? Realism?
Forget that.
My head's much smaller than yours. I have a little head. Are you finished?
Hey, anyway, yes.
So we were going to talk about car keys.
Were we?
And how I like to keep them in the same place, and you like to be very freeform with them.
Well, it's not that I like to be freeform with them. I think there could be a designated, well, I probably wouldn't say area, but there could be like a hook in the kitchen or something by the garage door. That would be a good place to have the keys. But I don't like this business of leaving them in the center console. That just seems like, that just seems wrong to me. It's a habit I don't like, or a habit that I don't want to embrace. In case I do that, go out one day, borrow your car, go to the shops, leave the keys in the center console, and then someone goes off with it.
But you would always lock my car if you were taking it. You would lock the car and you have.
One would hope so, but you never know. If I have demonstrated such absent-mindedness in how I leave your keys in obscure places, I might one day just automatically put them in the center console and go and do some shopping, and the car would be taken.
I would find that very unlikely given your security consciousness.
Well, anyway, I don't know. I don't know why I feel that way, but I don't know. I don't like it. So that's why I tend to keep them on me. It just is a force of habit in itself. I get out the car, put them in my pocket, and then when I empty my pockets, I empty them, excuse me, wherever I see fit. That's usually somewhere that you generally find to be quite obscure.
Well, when I'm trying to leave in my car and I can't find my keys because they're with you.
Right. So I can see how that gets irritating. But there was a moment recently where we went away for the weekend. Was it last weekend?
2 weekends ago.
Sorry, I'm getting over a cold. It's my throat is a little bit tickly.
You need a boiled sweet.
I do need a boiled sweet. I have some boiled sweets over there. Anyway, we digress. Excuse me.
Should I get your boiled sweet?
I shall have a sip of tea. It was a weekend, a couple of weeks ago, where we were all going out to dinner, and I had lost your car keys, and the stakes were feeling pretty high. One, because I'd lost your car keys, and you never like that, and two, because you promised our youngest daughter that she could drive to the restaurant, and she was very excited about that. So I was faced with this dilemma. If I don't find the car keys, everyone is going to be disappointed. My wife is going to be disappointed in me. There's no two ways about that. But my youngest daughter looks like she's going to be really disappointed. So I was feeling terrible that I had somehow mislaid the keys. And I'd already, for whatever reason, the housekeeper had not been to clean the room, and I had insisted, I'd phoned the front desk and insisted that they be sent around immediately because it was the second day with no housekeeping. So the housekeeper arrives at the exact points I discovered I'd lost the car keys. So then I had to send her away and say, come back in 5 minutes, which she didn't seem to be very happy about. And then I still couldn't find the keys. I was turning the room upside down. We went back to the car, hoped it was unlocked. It wasn't. The keys weren't there. I started retracing my steps, couldn't find the keys. Went back to the car. I'm pulling my hair out at this point, and then I thought, I just go have one more look in the room. And I don't know why. At that point, it was probably 10 minutes spent trying to figure out where the keys were, and I'd already let the housekeeper back in too, so she was already started the cleaning process. And then when we got back to the car, I think I got a little bit more settled, and I think when I got back to the car, I'd resigned myself to the fact that, okay, we're going to obviously have to get an Uber. Maybe the following day I'm going to have to call BMW and they're going to have to come out and do something. I think BMW provide very good customer service, so I felt that they might be able to handle something. Or, the AAA, something was going to get sorted. We are intelligent beings and we'll come up with something good. And so that kind of settled me down. So then for whatever reason at that point where I got a little bit settled, I thought I should just they must be in that room. I should just go and have one more look in the hotel room. And then I got back to the room, and then the housekeeper looked at me as if I was stark raving mad, which I found quite amusing. And then I thought, I'm just gonna have one last look, and I think there was something in the experience of seeing humor in that situation and seeing her reaction really brought me back into my neutrality. And in that exact moment of neutrality, I remembered that I put them in the hotel room safe. And lo and behold, that's exactly where they were. But what was so interesting about that experience was that I got so revved up so quickly because I felt the stakes were high. I had this great opportunity to disappoint you and our youngest daughter, and that made me feel, just wound me up. And I got more and more wound up. And the more I couldn't find the keys, and the more I couldn't imagine where I'd left them, the more upset I became. But as soon as I got into that place of neutrality, bang, I knew exactly where they were. And I love seeing that more and more. I love seeing that play out more and more. That, the more that I react to my experience in that way, and then get into that machinery, get into the analytical machinery inside my head, and feel that's the only way I'm going to find solution and get all sped up, the more that I recognize that in the moment, the more likely I am to start steering myself towards, getting more neutral about it.
What's interesting, I mean, I know it was, that was you, not me, is that both Ashan and I were pretty neutral the whole time.
You were.
And so it wasn't like we were acting disappointed. Like, all of that was going on internally. None of that was really our reality. We were like, oh, well, we'll figure it out, no problem, eventually.
Well, that was true. Yeah. Absolutely. And that probably helped as well, on some level.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
But I agree. I mean, I think we can all do that. We can all sort of like get really anxious and worried and freaked out at times, but it's sort of seeing how that storm will naturally pass, and recognizing when we're in the storm, knowing that we're in the storm is really helpful. Because if we know that we're in the storm, then we know that there's a possibility to come out of the storm, and that we'll see things more clearly then. So we're less likely to go deeper into it.
Yeah, there is something really valuable in recognizing that you're in the storm. And I think that for all sorts of situations, there are all sorts of self-help techniques, I'm sure, that are out there. There's a magic bullet to sort of figure out how you can get through stormy waters in those situations. But at the end of the day, it's just all about recognition, knowing how the mind works and how, we get sped up and we get into this fog, and all we have to do is just really wait till we settle down. I mean, ultimately, I would have settled down enough to know where the keys were. I didn't have to get to such a level of panic so quickly, because I wasn't gonna find anything in that framework of thinking. But just telling myself that, at some point I'm going to settle, and that'd probably be a better time to start thinking about the keys.
And even if the keys were lost, you're right, we would have figured it out. We have innate creative potential inside of us. We could have figured out how to get back to LA.
I mean, you could have
no
done.
Car key.
Yeah, so it's not the end of the world. And it's so obvious to me how in that mindset I can get to the point where it's feeling like where I'm on the very edge of the end of the world, about to fall into the abyss.
Yeah, we can all. I have those moments too.
Yeah.
I think I'm falling over the abyss a lot.
But there is an intelligence behind life that's ready to break that fall every time.
And then we wake up and realize, oh, there's no such thing as an abyss. We're on solid ground.
What's he all about?
Bye, everybody.
Bye.